Part 11. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 101. The first time he got the original Holy Dragon Sutra, Zhang Zizai knew that it contained the method of fixing the totem, the method of opening the mysterious veins, and the method of forging the holy body. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. Among them, the method of fixing the totem is the 9-pole dragon drill technique. The first time it appeared, it was clear, mysterious, and extremely profound. Now, Zhang Zizai has completed practicing the 9-pole dragon drilling technique, and with the 9th drill, he drilled out the Tianfu point. 9 black dragons occupy the spiritual aperture, forming a complete outline. If he wants to move forward in his cultivation path, he must open his profound veins. If there was a way to open the profound veins now, he could actually try it and reach the realm of profound veins. However, what Zhang Zizai really wanted was definitely the method of opening the profound veins in the Yuanqi Holy Dragon scripture. Bai Shenjin uses ordinary techniques to open the profound veins, but the efficiency is much lower. After obtaining the wind and fire opening heaven technique, he still needs to transform it again, which is equivalent to opening it all over again. In order to be able to access the 9-pole dragon drill technique, Zhang Zizai naturally wanted to obtain the method of opening the mysterious veins from the Yuanqi Holy Dragon Sutra in the visualization totem. He knew that with his current strength, it was unlikely that he would be able to obtain Tai Chi. During the battle with Kiri's Hima, if I were not at the level of mystical veins, I would be particularly passive. So every day, he spent a lot of time visualizing the totem, slightly compressing the time of the Taixu Universe Soul Refining Technique. Every day, I look at the little dragon with black petals in its mouth. It was motionless, like a statue, and the black petals were flowing with a strange light. Why, you still can't remember? In fact, he had some impressions of the method of opening profound veins in his mind, but they were vague and impossible to practice. He didn't even know the name. He didn't know why, but every time after visualizing the totem, he felt mentally exhausted and had a feeling of weakness all over his body. Even this inexplicable fatigue cannot be relieved by the Taixu Universe Soul Refining Technique. Occasionally, weakness in the hands and feet may occur suddenly. Although the qi is still powerful, the muscles of the body are a bit stiff. I almost fell asleep while meditating on the totem several times. This is only possible when you are very tired. Brother, I don't know what's going on. It seems that you look a little tired these past 2 days. Ruo Xiaoyu stared at him. Is there any? That feeling only appeared occasionally, and Zhang Zizai thought it was unlikely. Maybe it's because the fog in Kiri's Hima is too heavy and I get upset easily. I'm the same way, Ruo Xiaoyu said. Zhang Zizai felt that it might have something to do with Kiri's Hima. After spending about 6 days, they still haven't found a way to open the profound veins. There are only 20 days left. With the 13 sacrificial flags they have in hand, they have probably been surpassed long ago. In terms of cultivation, I originally expected to be able to reach the mysterious vein realm, but unexpectedly, I can say that there has been no progress at all in the past few days. Instead, it made me a little dizzy. Maybe I'm too impatient. Zhang Zizai reflected for a moment, and he knew that continuing like this was not an option. Since the mysterious vein realm seemed to be hopeless for the time being, he should continue to hunt. Otherwise, there is no hope of Tai Chi. When he decided to take the initiative, Bai Shenjin and the others were happy, and they also felt that continuing to stay was a waste of time. Wan Qian, it's up to you to search for prey. No problem. Their opponents set off quietly. The rest of their team is like headless flies in Kiri's Hima, Zhang Zizai said as he advanced through the dense jungle. What about us? Ruo Xiaoyu asked. Of course it's a big deal, haha. After he started to attack, the sudden feeling of fatigue completely disappeared, and Zhang Zizai returned to his peak condition. This made him feel that he should be more suitable to survive in battle. Half an hour later. It's the team of the Xuanhuan priests. They have depressed expressions and seem to have no sacrificial flags on their bodies. Wan Qian would report first every time he saw his opponent first. Walk. Without the sacrificial flag, there would naturally be no meaning of hunting. 10 days have passed. Most of the weaker teams encountered have basically lost their sacrifice flags. The remaining time is just trying their luck. It's the Fire Sea team, with 2 sacrificial flags on them. A day later, they finally found a team with the sacrificial flags. How is the strength? Zhang Zizai asked. There is only one person at the first level of the mysterious veins realm. Come right up. The 5 of them quickly approached and surrounded. Bai Shenjin directly opened the wind and fire field, disrupting the opponent's formation. Zhang Zizai turned into a black shadow and passed through the crowd. The sacrificial flag on the leader of the Fire Sea team disappeared in an instant. When they reacted, they didn't see who had snatched the sacrificial flag. Their cooperation and snatching have already been practiced to perfection. It's a pity that there are very few teams carrying the God Sacrifice flag now. It means that in the past 10 days, the strong team has robbed many of the weak team's sacrificial flags. They don't have Wan Qian yet, they all rely on chance encounters. If we did the same from the beginning, the efficiency should be higher, Bai Shenjin said. There are still 20 days. There is a lot of time, and anything can happen. They continued to move forward. Usually late at night, thousands of sight lines would be affected, and the source beasts on the island would also come out to move around, so there would be very few people walking at night. So late at night, they rested. After 3 days, the number of their sacrificial flags reached 16. Among the teams being targeted, there were at least 6 teams whose hands were already empty. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. This kind of efficiency is actually not very high. After all, it's not just Wan Qian who has the ability to track other people, others may not be able to, but they are just not as scary as Wan Qian. On the 4th day, they continued to move forward. Wan Qian was there, and all the crises around him were under his control. They walked more casually. There's someone ahead. Wan Qian made a gesture, and they stopped immediately. Then Wan Qian calmed down and looked over there with an arc sight. After about 10 breaths, he turned back and said, "It's the team of priest Jin Yuxuan, headed by Shen Qingyu. They are also one of the favorites, especially Shen Qingyu, boss, you should know him, your 8th senior brother. He has so many sacrificial flags." Of course Zhang Zizai knew him. He was a good talisman master. He brought a lot of his own totem talismans when he came in this time. He was said to be quite difficult to deal with. 9 branches. In other words, if we can get their sacrificial flags, we will have 25, which is half of the goal, Zhang Zizai pondered. Bai Shenjin said, "It's difficult, Shen Qingyu is at the 2nd level of the mysterious vein realm. There seems to be one person in the team who is at the 1st level of the mysterious vein realm, and the others are all at the 9th level of the martial Ming realm. But the key is that Shen Qingyu has too many talismans. It is said that neither Yang'el nor Nangong Shuiying can take down him alone. They can't repeat the same method as last time, because he is not an excited person like Wan She and will not be easily lured away." Zhang Zizai had already anticipated Shen Qingyu's strength. "It's okay, come on. After all, he is my senior brother, one of our own, easy to talk to. Of course, the other party has never called him junior brother so far." In the blink of an eye, Shen Qingyu and the others arrived in front of them. Zhang Zizai planted 16 sacrificial flags on the ground, and Shen Qingyu saw them as soon as he arrived. "Senior brother, do you want to get these sacrificial flags?" Zhang Zizai asked. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 102. It's hard to describe in words. Shen Qingyu searched hard and suddenly looked up and saw 16 sacrificial flags on the ground in front of him. Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. He currently only has 9 in his hand. If he can win these 16, it means that his chances of finally obtaining Tai Chi are definitely quite high. It's you, Zhang Zizai. In fact, Shen Qingyu, like Bai Shenjin, was born as a commoner, and his parents were both mortals. He was the only one with extraordinary talents. He directly obtained the earth-level totem from the Pillar of Origin in a small city and rose against the sky. To this day, the genius of that small town is still as legendary as a legend. When he came to the Temple of Sacrifice, he was appreciated by Jin Yuxuan. He is currently one of the top 5 geniuses in the entire Sacrifice to God banner. What is even more valuable is that he also has the rare talent of a Totem Talisman Master. It is said that he is now a Chen-level Totem Talisman Master. Totem Martial Artist plus Totem Talisman Master means even more amazing combat power. Therefore, Shen Qingyu's Qingyu team actually has many priests paying attention. For example, his priest Jin Yuxuan was nearby, and Xiao Yushan and the Yuanqing named Guyan happened to be nearby as well. Guyan is the top totem spiritual master in the Sacrifice Temple, and has created many top-level totem weapons. Old Xiao, it's fun, your 2 new disciples have met. Guyan's interest suddenly aroused. Xiao Yushan stroked his long beard and said with a smile, this Zhang Zizai is too courageous. He ate Wan Qil's sacrificial flag, and now he still wants to eat Shen Qingyu's sacrificial flag. You have such a big appetite, how can you hold it in? Guyan asked. Xiao Yushan waved his hand and said, one is a genius from a commoner in a small town who creates miracles and turns his life around, and the other is a bastard from a down-and-out royal family. I will wait and see who wins and who loses. Jin Yuxuan was coming up to meet the 2 Yuanqings at this time. Hearing their conversation, Jin Yuxuan smiled and said nothing more. Yuxuan, Qingyu is your disciple, what do you think? Guyan asked. Jin Yuxuan said, it is said that the young prince has defeated Wan Xia, so he will definitely win. Although I heard that the main credit is Wan Qian's pupil technique. Then you are still contented? Jin Yuxuan said, Qingyu is not bad after all. In fact, even though he said this, judging from his expression and relaxed tone, he was actually full of confidence in Shen Qingyu. Moreover, in a head-on confrontation, Shen Qingyu's team is obviously much stronger. The key is that he has prepared too many totem talismans for today. Those are all prepared for Nangong Shuiying and Yang'el. While they were chatting, the 2 teams below had already met head-on. Zhang Zizai pointed the fire source gun at the sacrificial flag on the ground and said, it's been a long time since I moved my muscles and bones. We are brothers. We can definitely be more civilized. Since we have met, let's have a simple game. No matter whether we win or lose, that's okay. It's all about building up the other person, and it doesn't count as taking advantage of outsiders. Shen Qingyu asked the people around him to stay still, and then asked calmly, how do you want to solve it simply? Zhang Zizai's eyes were deep. He has been a little confused recently. He is undergoing penance and cannot find the way forward. He thought that using a desperate battle would be like fighting against the origin beast in the Black Collar Mountains. During the battle, he would pursue a way to surpass himself. Therefore, he said seriously, let's challenge each other. The loser will hand over all the sacrificial flags. You still make money, after all, I have 7 more sacrificial flags than you. Shen Qingyu's eyes fell on the 16 sacrificial flags. They were densely packed and there were indeed many. During the Battle of Kiri's Hima, priests were prohibited from reporting progress to priests, so Shen Qingyu didn't know about the duel between Zhang Zizai and Wan Xia. What he saw now were the 16 sacrificial flags. Qingyu, don't agree to him, in case there is a scam. The 5 of us will defeat them and go directly. A girl in white next to him said. Yes, We attack in groups and can capture them quickly to avoid long nights and dreams. Seeing them muttering, Zhang Zizai knew what they were thinking, so he directly packed up the god sacrifice flag, hung it on his waist, and said, "Don't waste time, just tell me if you have the fighting spirit and courage, the respected master will be nearby to watch. Look, don't you just want to prove yourself? What kind of man are you hesitant and worried about this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? How do you know that master is nearby?" Shen Qingyu's eyes became cold and stern. Zhang Zizai hooked Wan Qian's shoulders and said, "This brother's eyes are so good. Your priest, Jin Yuxuan, is also watching. For Shen Qingyu, this is even more different. After my last apprenticeship, it was difficult to feel happy, and I even felt resentful." He could tell who Xiao Yushan liked more that day. The road to becoming a talisman master was long. He felt that he was from an ordinary background and had a lower starting point. However, this did not mean that he was inferior. After getting the totem, he was number one, so he was not convinced. But now, Zhang Zizai stood in front of him openly, with the fire source gun pointed at him, and his fighting intention was clear. "No problem," he nodded with sharp eyes. "Qingyu," the girl was a little anxious. "Do you think I'm no match for him?" Shen Qingyu asked. "That's not true. How can he be your opponent? He's not even in the mysterious vein realm. I just heard that he's scheming and cunning, and I'm afraid you'll fall into his scheme. If he dares, you won't be able to blame anyone if he goes up to him again." Okay, seeing that she couldn't stop him, the girl had no choice but to admit it. After all, he basically got these 9 sacrificial flags by himself. As a result, 2 talented teenagers with completely different destinies came together. "The show has begun." Guyan was quite interested. Jin Yuxuan looked around with a smile on his face and said, "The 9 immortals are not here." Perhaps, he wanted to let his priests defeat his priests in front of the 9 immortals. 9 immortals are not here, but Shen Yuanqing is. Xiao Yushan pointed behind him. Jin Yuxuan was horrified. When he turned around, he saw that on the other side, the Ha Qin Qin was with Princess Shenxiao and Shen Yuanqing. All standing. Princess Shenxiao was sitting on a branch, her white calves swaying, her hands holding her chin, looking cute, looking at Zhang Zizai in the distance. "There's something wrong." He could only comment on Princess Shengxiao's closeness to Zhang Zizai like this. Just as he said this, Shen Qingyu over there had already taken out his weapon in front of Zhang Zizai. That turned out to be a spirit wood pen. The spirit wood pen itself is also a totem weapon and can be used in combat. Shen Qingyu's spirit wood pen is obviously of a very high level and can be used in combat. Holding a spirit wood pen and wearing a blue robe, Yan Ran looks like a scholar. Looking at the center of his eyebrows, the totem is actually a pen. That is his earth-level totem, Xianling brush totem. This kind of totem is rare among weapon totems. It was the awakening of the Xianling brush totem that let people know that Shen Qingyu was born to be a totem talisman master. He was born for the talisman. In comparison, Zhang Zizai was obviously not good at this. Shen Qingyu held the spirit wood pen in his hand and faced Zhang Zizai. "As a talisman master, you have a profound knowledge and a long history. As a senior brother, I will teach you a truth today: the way of cultivation requires you to remain humble." Zhang Zizai smiled and said, "Senior brother, you are wrong, because you are too stupid, so everything seems more difficult. Let me give you a lesson. Young man, don't be too humble. You should break things, disobey things, and face difficulties. Those who are on top should be defended to the death, and must not be cowards." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 103. Today, Zhang Zizai is fighting to surpass the limit. Otherwise, with his team, it shouldn't be difficult to win. In particular, the role of thousands of pupil skills in battle makes Shen Qingyu unable to use them at all. He and Shen Qingyu looked at each other for the last time. It's like a fateful encounter between geniuses, and an honest showdown is inevitable. Buzz. The two took action almost at the same time. One holds a spirit wood pen, and the other controls a fire source gun. It is said that Shen Qingyu spends a lot of time immersed in talismans and rarely fights with others. Zhang Zizai could see that he was not ruthless enough. Wind Dragon Demonic Shadow. The Black Dragon's true energy roared, and strong winds rolled up on the battlefield. Although this was a Chen-level battle technique, Zhang Zizai's performance already had a power that surpassed that of the Chen level. Hu ho ho. Shen Qingyu was wearing hunting clothes, and a lot of strong wind had been poured into his robe. This makes it inconvenient for him to do it. However, this does not scare him. He has the second level of Earth-level Qi in the mysterious vein realm. In terms of Qi, he can suppress Zhang Zizai. Spring and Autumn Brushwork. This is the low-grade Chen-level battle technique that he is good at. He used this brushwork to draw talismans at the same time during practice, and he has already become proficient in it. Penetrate. This is the totem characteristic of his Xianling brush totem. It is manifested and attached to the spirit wood pen. Any stroke can release penetrating gang qi, like a sword qi, shooting out. Where to escape? His feet were flying and he was pressing forward. The spirit wood pen in his hand was very fast. The spring and autumn brushwork combined with the penetrating properties of the totem made him look like a swordsman rather than a talisman master, with sword energy all around him. Shen Qingyu's movements are elegant, but full of lethality. The literati's pen is like a sword. At least it looks quite beautiful. Zhang Zizai immediately felt the pressure he longed for. He was calm and collected, although he fought and retreated, and he was indeed not as good as his opponent in terms of bursting out his true energy. However, his fire source spear was longer and occasionally penetrated like a poisonous snake, directly forcing Shen Qingyu back. You're actually okay. Shen Qingyu's Chunkai brushwork did not defeat Zhang Zizai, so he directly praised it. But then, his brushwork became more fierce, and the penetrating sword energy became sharper, and he had successfully left scars on Zhang Zizai's body. Whoosh! A blast of energy crossed his face, leaving a scar. Zhang Zizai smelled blood. He felt that the animal nature in his bones was being aroused by the smell of blood. Of course, it might not be in his bones, but in the black dragon totem. He began to fall into a rage, which he would occasionally do when he was fighting to the death with the origin beast. Kill. He took out a handful of accelerating talismans and stuck them all on his body. Accelerating talismans were generally not used in this way and everyone would cherish them, but Zhang Zizai didn't care. When his speed increased, the spear in his hand and the tip of the spear were filled with black flaming meteors, rushing down crazily and heading towards Shen Qingyu's head. He tried his best. Under his use, the power of the bolide spear simply exceeded its limit. On the basis of the original, the changes in black bring about stronger lethality. The strong energy released by the opponent's spirit wood pen will explode directly if it is touched by the tip of Zhang Zizai's spear. Zhang Zizai's counterattack was fierce and brutal. His fighting style was different from the elegant Shen Qingyu. The two of them were like a scholar dancing with a sword and a killer on the battlefield. Bang bang bang. Under Zhang Zizai's suppression, Shen Qingyu frowned, he was retreating steadily. Why is he so powerful? Shen Qingyu was shocked. He couldn't even look at Zhang Zizai's eyes, because it was also a form of oppression. Especially the position of the natal totem, there was an invisible aura suppressing his chest. He could only admit that he was not even as comfortable as Zhang Zizai in frontal combat. Not only do you have the talisman, I also have it. After being forced back by Zhang Zizai, Shen Qingyu smiled coldly, and a fiery red talisman immediately appeared in his hand. This felt like Zhang Zizai had faced the Sunfire talisman before. However, this talisman is worse than the Sunfire talisman. The fireball talisman exploded in front of Zhang Zizai's eyes, and a fireball as big as his head rolled towards Zhang Zizai. Another death-like crisis. Although it was much weaker than the Sunfire talisman, Zhang Zizai did not shatter the Sunfire talisman by relying on his own strength at that time. It was the sense of crisis of death, the strange explosion of black petals in the totem. But this time, the black petals did not explode, and the fireball talisman came to the chest instantly. Bang! The fireball talisman exploded, and Zhang Zizai was thrown away, hitting a tree hard, and then fell to the ground, unable to get up. The victory has been decided. Shen Qingyu smiled proudly and was about to put away the spirit wood pen. The four people behind him finally laughed. Comparing talismans with Qingyu, it's really nothing compared to a big witch. It's ridiculous. They are too courageous and blindly arrogant. These people are like this. Don't they know how much they are worth? The girl in white covered her mouth and chuckled. Shen Qingyu knew that his priest and Xiao Yushan must have seen that he was upright and defeated Zhang Zizai with the talisman, and the bad breath from that day was finally gone. Zhang Zizai, sacrifice flag, Shen Qingyu said. Who said I was defeated? The young man stuck the fire source gun on the ground and got up. His chest exploded into a black mass, his clothes were burned, and all of them were covered with black blood. This chapter is not finished yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. There was only one dragon-shaped jade pendant, which was still pure white and flawless, hanging there. The only good skin on the entire chest was the one under the jade pendant. That was the Zayu given by Princess Shenxiao. For many people, such an injury means severe pain and they can't hold on at all, but at this moment, Zhang Zizai climbed up. Although his face was a little pale, his eyes were particularly sharp. Do you still have the fireball talisman? Come on together. He held the fire source gun, like an ancient beast, lowered his head, stared at Shen Qingyu, and walked step by step. The charred chest made him more fierce. You have already lost. Shen Qingyu stepped back a few steps. Does this count as a defeat? Zhang Zizai sneered, and the fire source gun immediately killed him. Indeed, it felt like his whole body was falling apart. His chest was burning with pain. But this was his limit. Zhang Zizai. Shen Qingyu could only fight with the spirit wood pen again. He still had a fireball talisman, but he didn't want to waste it on Zhang Zizai. He was going to deal with other people. Zhang Zizai was not qualified to be his opponent. But he didn't expect it to be like this. The fire source gun was like a deadly force. In an instant, the sky was full of black meteors. The spring and autumn penmanship could not resist it at all. Zhang Zizai, with his absolutely aggressive, domineering style and tenacious lethality, defeated his heart before defeating him. Puff! In a moment of carelessness, the fire source gun passed through his legs. Shen Qingyu screamed and was crushed to the ground. The next moment, Zhang Zizai pulled out the fire source gun, the tip of the gun was against his neck, looking down at him, and said, "This is considered a defeat." His life and death were already controlled by Zhang Zizai. When Zhang Zizai spoke, the burning injury on his chest was still shocking. However, the sharpness of his gun tip was so terrible that Shen Qingyu, who was heartbroken at this time, could not take out the Sunfire talisman at all. He looked at Zhang Zizai with lingering eyes, and the severe pain in his legs made him tremble all over. "Have you admitted defeat?" Zhang Zizai asked. Shen Qingyu wanted to cry but had no tears. He was a little confused about why he was defeated. Could it be because he really spent too much time on talismans? The victory or defeat was already obvious, and he couldn't quibble. "What are you still watching? Bandage him quickly." Zhang Zizai picked up his sacrificial flag package, took it in his hand, and then said to the four people. The four people didn't dare to do it again. In their minds, the genius who could not be defeated was completely suppressed by a killer-like figure. It seemed that it was not the suppression of strength, but the suppression of willpower. Zhang Zizai turned and left. His back still made it hard for people to forget the fierce light in his eyes. Shen Qingyu gritted his teeth and recalled the battle. He only remembered the shadow. Boss. Brother. Lu Dingxing and others hurried up and supported Zhang Zizai. Don't support me, it's okay, leave here quickly, so that others won't take advantage of it. Now he has 25 sacrificial flags on him. If someone takes advantage of it, he will suffer a great loss. After walking a few steps and just walking out of Shen Qingyu and others' sight, Zhang Zizai shivered and felt a little weak all over. Let's support him. He could only bite the bullet and tell them. He was a little depressed. He wanted to feel the feeling of surpassing the limit through this battle. As a result, the pain was a little beyond the limit, and the flesh on his chest was burnt. But there was no result. What about the breakthrough? The key point is that although his chi was still strong, his body felt a little weak. He didn't know what kind of bottleneck he had fallen into. When he walked, he felt like he was drunk and a little dizzy. Suddenly, the world spun around and he fell down. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 104. It's quite exciting. The second son of the Southern King has the demeanor of his elder brother after the battle, Gu Yin said with emotion. Xiao Yushan nodded and said, this is a family of 3 heroes. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. Jin Yuxuan lowered his head slightly and said, Xiao Yu and Xing, the lives of hundreds of thousands of people are all innocent souls. Can you be considered a hero? Xiao Yushan pursed his lips and did not respond. He knew that Jin Yuxuan must be very angry and unhappy because of Shen Qingyu's defeat this time, the loss of 9 sacrificial flags, and the creation of Zhang Zizai. Shen Qingyu's possibility of obtaining Tai Chi has almost been lost. Moreover, as a totem talisman master, he should not be defeated in front of Zhang Zizai. Xiao Yushan looked at it and saw that the 2 teams below had already withdrawn. By the way, Jin Yuxuan, just now, the divine attendant sent news that a group of priests seemed to have encountered a kind of spirit, which was like a ball of water and disappeared without a trace. It actually wanted to eat people alive. That disciple used the Ascension Talisman and escaped with his life. Ghosts, Jin Yuxuan narrowed his eyes and said, is there really such a ghost in Kiri's Hima? It has appeared before, but it didn't have much lethality. Just be careful. Therefore, the divine attendant said that if you encounter a spirit and use the Ascension Talisman, it will not be eliminated. You can continue to fight. Go and notify your sacrificer, just be a disciple. Understood. Jin Yuxuan hurried away. To be honest, this spirit may not be as powerful as the source beast, but it is too weird and elusive. It is the right decision for the god attendant to be cautious. Let's go. With Zhang Zizai's team causing trouble, the rest of the time will probably be interesting. When Zhang Zizai woke up, it was Lu Dingxing who was carrying him. Brother, I gave you a medicine. I used the juice of the episode fruit. The effect is okay. Ruo Xiaoyu saw that he was awake and said quickly. Put me down. Zhang Zizai checked it out and found that the medicinal effect of the ectoplasm fruit was pretty good. After all, it was a 3rd-grade elixir given by his mother. Now, the burning part on his chest had fallen off, and new flesh and blood had begun to grow inside. It will probably heal in a day or 2. Boss, are you okay? That kind of injury was indeed painful, but it was not very common to cause dizziness and even fainting for several hours. Why did you faint? Zhang Zizai moved his body and found that the fatigue had finally disappeared. If the chest injury improved again, he could return to his peak condition. I don't know, but it's okay. He checked the 25 god sacrifice flags and said with a smile, this is a profit. Our number of god sacrifice flags is estimated to reach the top 3. Although fighting Shen Qingyu was more risky, the result was good and the rewards were huge. One step closer to Tai Chi. Brother, where did you get this jade pendant? I've never seen you wearing it before, Ruo Xiaoyu asked curiously. They probably saw it when they were changing Zhang Zizai's shirt. The Zaiyu was now hanging outside. Zhang Zizai felt guilty and quickly put it inside, saying, kids, don't ask questions. Haha, I knew it was a love token sent by Sister Juxian. Ruo Xiaoyu covered her mouth and smiled. Zhang Zizai glared at her, which stopped the little girl from talking nonsense. Of course, she guessed wrong. At night, they continued to find a secluded place to hide, and it didn't take long for the 9 immortals to arrive, accompanied by Enran and Feng Qingxian. They stood in the distance with cold eyes and did not approach. I heard that old man Xiao said you were injured. She was still quite concerned about Zhang Zizai. It's a trivial matter, nothing compared to fighting the origin beast. Zhang Zizai felt warm in his heart when he saw her concerned eyes. Young man, it's okay. I'm helping you, the priest, to gain face again. I saw Jin Yuxuan today. That guy has a bad face, haha. Juxian's delicate hand patted Zhang Zizai's chest, which made him grin with pain. 9 immortals, leave as soon as you finish talking over there, and Ran couldn't help but say something. Zhang Zizai looked at him, then at the 9 immortals, and said, didn't you say that the priests will not be allowed to contact us during this period? Moreover, Enran and Feng Qingxian were obviously supervising what Juxian said. Juxian was too lazy to talk to Enran. She said to everyone, I did have something to do when I came here today. The divine attendant said that there is a water-like spirit in Kiri's Hima. Any disciple who encounters it can use the Ascension Talisman and will not be included in the elimination queue. He turned to Wan Qian and said, if you find anything, you can use the Ascension Talisman to inform the priest. Ghost. Okay. Spirits are not origin beasts. They are strange creatures with grotesque shapes. Ghosts in mortal legends basically fall into this category. For example, there is a water ghost in the water, which is a kind of spirit that does not even have a fixed form, but it can pull mortals into the water and drown them. Most of the spirits pose no threat to the totem warriors at all, but they are too weird after all, so the divine attendant made this decision on the spur of the moment. Over there, Enran continued to urge. Keep the pace. Juxian blinked at Zhang Zizai and left with Enran and the others. Brother, aren't spirits scary? Ruo Xiaoyu looked at the darkness around her. She had heard too many weird and strange stories. Don't worry, Shen Yuanqing is with us all the time. Zhang Zizai touched her head. That's right, with Shen Yuanqing here, she didn't worry anymore. At night, Zhang Zizai continued to visualize the totem, trying to find the method to open the mysterious veins. He had no other way to make the Yuanqi Holy Dragon scripture appear, so he could only use visualization. Although there was no harvest for the time being, for a long time, Zhang Zizai seemed to be sitting in front of his totem, looking at it, looking at every detail of it, including the pattern of the black petals, and he became more familiar with it. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. Calculating the time, the remaining time is almost half, Juxian said to keep the rhythm, and at this rhythm, maybe the number of sacrificial flags in hand can exceed 50. That's all, just hide next. However, Zhang Zizai still felt that he had to enter the Xuanmei realm to be more confident. But the arrival of the Xuanmei realm was much more difficult than he imagined. On the third day, when they were wandering, Wang Qian said that he saw the Yang'el team. Yang'el is another teenager in the sacrifice temple who is at the third level of the mysterious veins realm. He comes from the Divine Weapon clan, one of the 9 major clans. He is not the son of the clan leader, and his parents do not have a high status in the clan, but he himself is indeed gifted. He awakened the Earth-level Totem, killing Halberd Totem at the age of 9, and is now 14 years old. His future potential is more promising than Nangong Shuiying. Moreover, this teenager has a very good reputation in the sacrifice temple. He is a generous and magnanimous person who does not care about trivial matters and is upright. After seeing the killing team, Wang Qian hurriedly asked everyone to take a deed. Zhang Zizai is not in his peak state now, and Yang Ul's team is one of the best in the sacrifice temple. If they meet at this time, they can only send out the sacrifice flag. How many sacrifice flags do they have? Zhang Zizai couldn't help asking when he encountered this highest level team for the first time. Let me count. This means that there should be a lot. After a while, he was ready, with an amazing expression, saying, "Too amazing, a total of 36 flags for sacrificing gods." 36. Adding Zhang Zizai's 25, it is equivalent to more than 60 flags for sacrificing gods on their two teams. So many. If Zhang Zizai can defeat him at this time, then he will be the champion of the Battle of Wuodao. The key is that the more likely situation is that they will give 25 flags for sacrificing gods to Yang Ul. Boss, you don't want to fight hard, right? Yang Ul is not Wancha or Shen Qingyu. Bai Shenjane shivered. I'm not a fool, let's go. Being able to get 36 flags for sacrificing gods shows that this killing team is indeed very strong. Zhang Zizai is only at the 9th level of the martial life realm, which is too far away from Yang Ul. They quickly staggered. However, the 36 flags for sacrificing gods put a lot of pressure on Zhang Zizai. They have so many flags for sacrificing gods, and it's hard to lose them. If we want to get the first place in the end, we may have to face them head-on. According to this calculation, Nangong Shuiying and the others have at least more than 20 flags for sacrificing gods. Although there is still half of the time, except for these two teams, the flags of other teams should be very few. This is the situation that Zhang Zizai doesn't want to see. Those two teams are too strong. Of course, Yang Ul and Nangong Shuiying are the only two candidates that the God Servant is satisfied with. This Kirisima was originally for them to fight against each other. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 105. It was late at night. They returned to the cave where they had hidden at the beginning. Zhang Ziyu continued to visualize the totem in the middle of the night. In the sea of life, he looked at the little black dragon, as if he was looking at himself in the mirror. Need to understand yourself. I thought that defeating Shen Qingyu would allow me to surpass myself, but it didn't. Life Totem, Ancient God. These magical existences make this world so magical. If there were no totems and no pillars of origin, everyone would be mortals. He had been looking at this life totem for a long time. Black dragon, petals. Petals, turn the white dragon into a black dragon. There seemed to be a huge change between black and white. From holy and noble to indifferent and rude. In the dream, Zhang Yunting disappeared in the crack of the sky. Where did he go? Where did the Yuanqi Shenglong Sutra come from? Is it really attached to the totem? Then why don't other people's totems have cultivation methods? What level of cultivation technique is this Yuanqi Shenglong Sutra? Is it above the heaven level? 9. Extreme Dragon Drilling Technique. The next step is to create a mysterious vein between any two spiritual orifices, break the mysterious vein, and let the true qi of the two spiritual orifices flow through and blend with each other. In the Xuanmei realm, the 9 spiritual orifices are connected head to tail, and finally form a whole, connecting the 9 mysterious veins, and truly turning the outline of the totem from points into lines, and fully displaying it in the body of the totem martial artist. For example, the Shenting point connects to the Fengqi point, the Fengqi point, and then the Tanzong point. In fact, the connection of the mysterious vein between any two spiritual orifices will allow the true qi of the two spiritual orifices to merge and grow. In the end, the 9 veins are fully opened, the true qi is magnificent, and the realm of the holy body can be achieved. 9 points determine the totem, and 9 points open the mysterious veins. He already has a deep understanding of the Xuanhuan realm. The only thing missing now is the technique. When he visualized the totem, he was always thinking. He was also recalling the vague method of opening the mysterious veins when he first got the Yuanqi Shenglong Sutra. There were no words, but it seemed that there were 9 dragons of different colors drilling in his body, and then connected head to tail to form a huge dragon outline. The name seems to be. It's called, 9 Heavens Dragon Pulse Fixing Technique. Suddenly, 6 words appeared in his mind. Zhang Zizai was shocked, and he remembered that after the 9 extreme dragon drilling technique, there was the 9 Heavens Dragon Pulse Fixing Technique. This is the method of opening the mysterious veins in the Yuanqi Shenglong Sutra. Still, he didn't know what level of skills it was, and it might surpass the heaven level. After recalling the name, all the words and formulas suddenly became clear in his mind. With 2 spiritual orifices connected, 9 dragons are formed, entrenched in the body. As the realm breaks through, the true Qi can encompass various attributes. The first level, Fire Mysterious Sky Dragon, 2 spiritual orifices are connected, one becomes the head of Fire Mysterious Sky Dragon, the other becomes the tail of Fire Mysterious Sky Dragon, the mysterious veins become the body of Fire Mysterious Sky Dragon, and become Fire Mysterious Sky Dragon's true Qi. The true Qi can cover the terrifying burning effect. Any punch has the power of burning. The second level, Golden Thorn Sky Dragon, forge the second section of True Qi into Golden Thorn Sky Dragon True Qi, the True Qi attack, with the Golden Thorn effect. Perhaps the effect of this True Qi can show the power equivalent to the totem characteristics, such as Shen Qingyu's Qi penetration. Then, there is the third level, Yimu Tianlong True Qi, the True Qi comes with a recovery effect, making his True Qi more continuous. This 9 Heavenly Dragons Pulse Fixation Technique has 9 levels in total. When the 9th level is perfected, it is as if there are 9 heavenly dragons in the body, with 9 additional effects, equivalent to the power of 9 totem characteristics: gold, wood, water, fire, earth, ice, thunder, wind, light and other attributes. Everything is available, 9 heavenly dragons, domineering and unparalleled. Zhang Zizai had learned about Baishan Jin's Feng Guo Kaishan Ju, and thought that the heaven level technique was very good at that time. Now looking at his own 9 heavenly dragons pulse fixation technique, it is really terrible. Now I know roughly, only when I really practice this 9 heavenly dragons pulse fixation technique, I guess I will know how powerful it is. He has been longing for so long in this foggy island, and finally waited for this method to open the mysterious veins. He carefully studied the key to the first level. With his current soul realm of the heavenly spirit realm, at least he can understand the literal things. Then, he started to try. The first mysterious vein must connect the Shenting point and the nearby Fengqi point. Both acupuncture points are on the head, which is quite thrilling, and the one chosen is the Fire Mysterious Sky Dragon. If this mysterious vein can be opened successfully, it is equivalent to a fire dragon entrenched on his head. The mysterious vein realm, like the martial life realm, is also the starting part of cultivation. The way of cultivation is similar, and it is also through. The 9 extreme dragon drilling technique relies on the true Qi to drill the spiritual orifice, but the 9 heavenly dragon fixed vein technique relies on the true Qi between the 2 spiritual orifices to attract each other, resonate, forging a thin meridian connected to each other into a mysterious vein as the core of the true Qi, creating a flaming fire mysterious sky dragon. This requires more difficult pain and more tenacious willpower. Zhang Zizai is so terrible about strength and values his family so much. This is his belief to persist. Belief is the greatest reliance of cultivation. He knows very well that if he wants to change his fate, he can only rely on his fists. On the first night, he tried thousands of times. Failed. The mysterious vein realm is not that easy. However, he was not discouraged and continued during the day. Bai Shenjin and the others knew that Zhang Zizai was in the process of sprinting, so they simply consolidated. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. He had just entered the Xuanmei realm, so he took this opportunity to tell Zhang Zizai and Wang Qian about his experience in the Xuanmei realm. The last battle gave Wang Qian great confidence. When Zhang Zizai was sprinting, he was actually in the final sprint stage. On the second night, Zhang Zizai finally made a concerted effort in the 3000th impact and connected the meridians in the two spiritual orifices. The true Qi successfully connected, merged, and filled the meridians. Swallowing Dragon Absorption Technique. There were hundreds of third-grade spirit stones under his feet, and he swallowed and absorbed crazily. The vast heaven and earth vitality poured into the fragile meridians. Fire Xiantian Dragon. He used the first level of the Nine Heavens Dragon Pulse Fixing Technique to guide the true Qi and heaven and earth vitality to spin crazily in the meridians. Buzz buzz buzz. As it rotated, solidified, and transformed, a burning Qi dragon gradually took shape in the meridians. The 999th rotation, the spiritual energy of the third-grade spirit stone was completely absorbed. At this time, the meridians had become the Xuanmei, the Shenting Ake appointment became the dragon head of the Huoxuan Tianlong, and the Fengqi Ake appointment became the dragon tail of the Huoxuan Tianlong. The two spiritual orifices had disappeared, and instead, a burning Huoxuan Tianlong Qi was entrenched in his head. The first level of the Xuanmei realm was successful. The fiery red Huoxuan Tianlong Qi burned in the body, causing Zhang Zizai's body to soar, and his whole body was extremely hot. When he clenched his fists, the Qi overflowed from his fingers and burned. This is the power of Huoxuan Tianlong Qi. The moment he was sighing, the black dragon totem shook. Invisible ripples swept across the Huoxuan Tianlong Qi. In an instant, after the ripples passed, the fiery red fire mysterious sky dragon turned into a black flame dragon, and even the flame on Zhang Zizai's finger turned black, violent, and fierce. Zhang Zizai was familiar with this process. In fact, the 9 heavenly dragons pulse fixing technique, the 9 dragons that finally appeared were of various colors, the fire mysterious sky dragon was fiery red, and the golden thorn sky dragon was golden. Now, he estimated that everything would become black, black fire, black gold, black wood. Everything was fierce and violent, with the effect of destruction. But no matter what, he had already entered the second great realm of cultivation. Late at night, Zhang Zizai opened his eyes and roared. Congratulations, boss, congratulations to thousands of people, entering the Xuanmei realm at the same time. This is a once-in-a-lifetime fate, the time is just right, I suggest you get married on the spot, don't let down this auspicious day and beautiful marriage. As soon as he opened his eyes, he heard Bai Shenjin laughing. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 106. Zhang Zizai saw that the young man Wang Qian was standing in front of him, his eyes were glowing, and his overall Qi level had obviously reached a new level. As he improved himself, he also improved, and the combat power of the entire team would be greatly strengthened. Good performance. It was still late at night, and they still had time to consolidate their realm. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. Have a good rest tonight, and start tomorrow for the final sprint. Hearing Zhang Zizai's announcement, the other 4 people's eyes were hot, they knew that the final decisive battle was coming. Especially Bai Shenjin, he couldn't wait. For him, proving himself was so important. Zhang Zizai continued to consolidate his Tianqian Fire Dragon Qi. Wang Qian, who had just broken through to a new realm, went outside to see the dark night scene. About half an hour later, He came back with a serious face. "What's wrong?" Zhang Zizai asked. "Did someone come to visit?" Wang Qian held the Ascension Talisman in his hand, his face a little pale. "I saw it," he said nervously. "What?" He even took out the Ascension Talisman. Wang Qian gritted his teeth and said, "It seems that Shen Yuanqing and the others didn't notice it. I saw that there was a ball of water attached to the branch and suddenly changed into a human form. Nearby, this is obviously the monster that Juxian said. The scary thing is that it seemed to find that I saw it, and then disappeared. I didn't even have time to release the Ascension Talisman. Fortunately, it has left." So scary. Ruo Xiaoyu hid beside Zhang Zizai and pulled his sleeve. For this kind of ghost-like thing, the main fear was the unknown. "It's good that it's gone. It shouldn't be a problem." Zhang Zizai patted Xiaoyu's shoulder and said gently. "Boss, I felt before that there was always something staring at me. Didn't you say that you were a little strangely tired recently? Could it be related to this monster?" Wang Qian asked carefully. Zhang Zizai shook his head and said, "It should be nothing to do with the spirit. If Juxian hadn't practiced with him recently, he would have suspected that it might be her fault. But fortunately, he didn't feel tired much now. After the true qi was strong, the blood was still very vigorous." "Staring at us? Why?" It sounded creepy. "Even Shen Yuanqing didn't notice it. Did you see it?" Zhang Zizai said. Wang Qian nodded. Zhang Zizai thought for a while and said, "Since you can find them now, observe them more. If you see them again, use the Ascension Talisman immediately and summon the priests." "Okay." That night, Ruo Xiaoyu was a little nervous and didn't dare to leave Zhang Zizai's side. Wang Qian was alert at the entrance of the cave all night, and the spirit didn't seem to appear again. After dawn, the fog of the Fog Island will dissipate a little, and they will set out on the journey again. My field of vision is wider. Wang Qian has achieved the Xuanmei realm, which means that their eyes are more terrifying. They advanced rapidly, with Wang Qian's eyes controlling the overall situation. It's the team of Master Zhang Yuan, but they are all in a mess, and they don't have the sacrifice flag in their hands. Another team without the sacrifice flag, they are just wandering around and hoping for luck. Many teams, although they have lost the sacrifice flag, are still waiting. If they can suddenly find a chance, it is within the rules. When Wang Qian meets them, they just skip them and look for the next target. Now there are almost 10 days left to the end. They can meet 5 or 6 teams a day, but they find that they have basically lost the sacrifice flag. These teams with only 1 or 2 Xuanmei realm basically can't have the sacrifice flag. In 20 days, the strong teams have plundered them all. On the 3rd day, they finally met a team with the sacrifice flag in their hands. Seeing them, Wang Qian turned back with a strange look in his eyes. "What happened?" "It's Wancha and the others. They have 3 more flags for offering sacrifices. Their injuries are basically healed. Obviously, they had been recovering for more than 10 days before going out again to make a final effort, but it was obviously difficult to grab the flags for offering sacrifices at this time. Because they were all taken away." "Boss, do you want them?" Lu Dingxing asked. "Nonsense, of course. Use the same old trick again." "No, just go ahead." He patted Wang Qian on the shoulder and said, "Let's go." "Okay." The 5 people moved forward quickly. Wancha, who had just recovered his breath, did not expect that he would become a fat sheep in the eyes of others again. They moved forward in the thick fog with gloomy faces, constantly looking around. "Someone is coming," Yuhan looked ahead. "I hope there are flags for offering sacrifices." Wancha and the others hid quickly. "No need to hide, it's your grandfather. I have 25 flags for offering sacrifices." Zhang Ziyi walked up swaggeringly, and all 5 people appeared in their sight. "It's you." Wan Sha came out from behind a tree, his eyes instantly filled with bloodshot. especially after seeing Zhang Zizai's sacrificial flag. They dare to show up like this, they must be sure to deal with us. Jinding was a little panicked. No, it's because they won last time, so they are proud. This is our chance for revenge, Wan Sha gritted his teeth. I will deal with Zhang Zizai. Each of you, choose an opponent. Yuhan, you entangle Wan Qian and don't let him get close to me. Wan Sha was still frightened by Wan Qian's pupil attack last time. He believed that if Wan Qian hadn't been there, he would never have lost to Zhang Zizai. Go. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Wan Sha gritted his teeth and shouted, and suddenly rushed towards Zhang Zizai. The 5 people around him were opponents at the same time. Jinding's target was Ruo Xiaoyu. Zhao Yi's target was Lu Dingxing. Yuhan looked for Wan Qian, and Wu Jin went to Bei Shanjin. Instantly, it was thrilling. Eat your grandfather's firestorm. Bei Shanjin flew up instantly. When the wings flapped, the anger flew, and the wind and fire swept across a large area. Many wet trees were burned at once. In the thick smoke, Wan Sha and the others lost most of their vision. Suddenly, the ground in front of them shook, and a giant beast rushed in. When it saw people, it slapped them and directly scattered them. It's him. Zhao Yi knew it was Lu Dingxing and knew it was his mission. He rushed forward as soon as he was forced to retreat. Suddenly, a large number of flower thorns suddenly stretched out from his feet and entangled his body. The first time the flower thorns entered his body, his whole body was paralyzed. Zhao Yi screamed, and before he could react, the huge panda slapped him in the face. Pa pa pa! Zhao Yi fell to the ground with a swollen face. Yuhan was also entangled by the flower thorn rose just now. She was next to Zhao Yi and watched Zhao Yi being beaten by the panda, but she quickly freed herself from the thorns. Yuhan. When her fingers were emitting blue venom and rushed towards the panda like a black shadow, a young man with bright eyes appeared behind the panda. Buzz. In an instant, Yuhan felt dizzy. Pa! At this moment, the huge panda slapped her backhand and slapped her away. Although the panda was at the 8th level of the Wuming realm, his heavenly level true chi was still quite domineering. And as soon as Jinding came up, he saw his 2 brothers and sisters flying. He was stunned in place, and Lu Dingxing slapped him and flew out. This duel was simply crushing. Only Wu Jin and Wan Sha were left. Wu Jin was fighting with Bai Shanjin, and they were evenly matched for the time being. Wan Sha wanted to help his little friend, but Zhang Zizai was standing in front of him. At this time, Wan Qian had already joined Bai Shanjin, so Wu Jin knew without looking that he had to fly out immediately. Although Yuhan climbed up and could continue to fight, he obviously couldn't stop the violent attacks of the 4 of them. Wan Qian has entered the Xuanmei realm. He is younger than you. In the future, he will gradually surpass you. Are you panicking? Wan Sha wanted to support, but was blocked by Zhang Zizai. Ridiculous! Wan Sha's voice was cold. Seeing that the others were so defeated, he had to deal with Zhang Zizai, otherwise there was no chance of winning, so he only said 2 words and rushed towards Zhang Zizai. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 107. He was not willing to accept the defeat last time. Because, he was not defeated by Zhang Zizai at all. Haha, Zhang Zizai saw that he was covered in armor, had a pair of giant claws, and a scorpion tail, which looked terrible. But he smiled coldly, and suddenly attacked the moment the opponent arrived in front of him. Jinji Dragon Seal. He slapped out with one palm. In the palm, there was a black and gold dragon seal, which directly hit Wancha's pair of giant claws. Boom! Wancha flew backwards, and the totem characteristics were all invalidated. His hands were completely charred, and Zhang Zizai's Tianqian fire dragon chi burned them directly. These 2 hands could not be lifted at all. How is it possible? Wancha was stunned. He struggled to stand up, but saw 4 companions, all lying on the ground and wailing beside him. And Zhang Zizai walked up to them and surrounded them, without any injury. "Sacrifice flag, send it over," Zhang Zizai said lightly. "You." Zhang Zizai, Wan Sha had never been so humiliated, defeated twice by one person in a row. He was not convinced last time, but this time, reality was so miserable. He didn't give in. Zhang Zizai went up and slapped him on the face, took the sacrificial flag and said, "When I was sacrificing to the temple, you provoked me, and I didn't beat you, I was giving you face. In the future, don't be shameless." The truth is that he couldn't beat him at all at that time. Wan Sha wanted to cry but had no tears. He was stunned on the spot after that slap, and didn't dare to fight back, really like a grandson. He glanced at the group of people and saw Wan Qian. He didn't expect that Wan Qian could look at him with such indifferent eyes now. "Wan Qian, you embarrassed me this time. When we return to the clan in the future, we will settle our accounts one by one in front of our father." Wan Qian pursed his lips and said, "Don't scare me. We defeated you openly. Besides, with your ability, you can't get Tai Chi without my obstruction. You are so bold." Wan Sha couldn't stand it the most. Even he dared to talk to him like this. A bastard who had been bullied by him all his life. Wan Qian didn't respond to him. He knew he didn't need to respond. He just needed to continue on this road. Time will give the answer. "Let's go." Zhang Zizai greeted him and harvested 3 sacrificial flags again, feeling satisfied. "Bai Shenjin." Wan Sha glanced around and suddenly saw Bai Shenjin. He sneered, "This time when you go back to Wudao, you will see your parents die miserably." "Wan Sha." Zhang Zizai turned back suddenly, his eyes like a ferocious beast. He hated others threatening their parents the most. Bai Shenjin's parents were indeed his weak spot, but they were also his closest relatives. So when Wan Sha took his anger out on his parents, Zhang Zizai couldn't accept it, and Bai Shenjin certainly couldn't accept it either. At this time, Zhang Zizai even wanted to kill him. "I didn't expect you to be such a waste. You can't beat them, but you still want to do such a shameful thing." Bai Shenjin was annoyed. Wan Sha laughed and said, "Mortal insects are mortal insects. It's a small matter if they die. Your parents must die. What can you do to me?" He has power behind him. Unless he protects them well, it will be troublesome. Wan Sha suddenly, a hollow voice came from behind. Wan Qian was a little creepy. He knew there were priests around, but he didn't know someone was so close to him. Looking back, it turned out to be Xinjiao Shenqi. "Hello, Shenqi." Everyone was shocked and saluted together. Wan Sha's scalp suddenly numbed. The star god servant stared at him and said, "The Battle of Kirishima was arranged by me. Everyone relied on their real abilities, but you threatened the lives of your parents. You are not worthy of being my disciple of the Sacrifice Temple. I give you a solemn warning today. If you are dissatisfied or unrepentant, I will expel you from the Sacrifice Temple. If you are stubborn, I can only find your father and explain the situation." "Master God servant, I was wrong." Wan Sha knelt on the ground in tears. "I absolutely didn't have this idea. I was angry and spoke quickly. I would never dare to do anything wrong." Wan Sha trembled all over. "Enran," the god servant shouted. After a while, Enran, the priest, came up with a sweat on his head. "Take care of your priests, otherwise, you will follow him," the star god servant said coldly. "Yes. God servant, I will definitely educate him well." This scared Enran so much that his face turned pale. To be honest, Zhang Zizai didn't expect the god servant to appear. Fortunately, she appeared, otherwise it would be a bad ending. Now that she is here, even if Wan Sha has 100 courages, he dare not touch Bai Shenjin's parents. Bai Shenjin's Injao god servant looked at him. "You have good talent. After returning to Yanlongxiu, bring your parents to the sacrifice temple. The sacrifice temple needs some purchasing staff, and they will be in charge. Thank you, God servant. Bai Shenjin half knelt on the ground excitedly. Although he was just a purchasing staff, he was also considered a member of the sacrifice temple. In this way, his parents' second half of life will be worry-free. Zhang Zizai looked at the Xinjiao god servant. Her execution was really good, but I don't know why Juxian called her an old witch. Zhang Zizai the god servant looked at him again. This seems to be the first time she has officially noticed him. Meet the god servant. Go on, you may be able to disrupt the situation a little. What does her situation mean? After she finished speaking, she disappeared in the blink of an eye, leaving them and priest and ran here. Zhang Zizai turned his head and saw, as expected, Juxian leaning against a tree trunk in the distance, smiling and giving him a thumbs up. Those cherry lips and red tongue seemed to be flowing. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. Enran looked ugly, and Zhang Zizai was too lazy to stay here for a long time. He made a farewell gesture to Juxian and left with everyone. How? He asked Wan Qian. Life seems to be different. He had stayed in oppression and humiliation for too long. Have you seen that spirit yet? No. Next, they continue to search for new goals. To be honest, Wan Qian has played a huge role in having 28 sacrifice flags. Yang'el has more than 30 sacrificial flags. We have 28. Nangong Shuiying probably has quite a few. There should be very few sacrificial flags left. 2 more days passed, and there were 5 days left in total. In the past 2 days, they met another 20 teams, all the same, and all of them had lost their sacrificial flags. Zhang Zizai met Shen Qingyu again, and he had 2 more sacrificial flags in his hand. This time he was still unwilling to give in. Unfortunately, Zhang Zizai's team still crushed them just like the thousands of Black World teams, and took away the 2 poor sacrificial flags they had collected in these days. Shen Qingyu is going crazy. During this encounter, he obviously felt that Zhang Zizai was stronger. Don't be too happy too soon. I have met Yang'el and Nangong Shuiying. Although you have 30 sacrificial flags, they have more sacrificial flags than you. Yang'el even has 36. Nangong Shuiying also has 30 about too. Holy shit. Zhang Zizai was stunned. There are only 99 sacrificial flags in total. According to Shen Qingyu's calculation method, the 3 together are already 98. In less than a month, all the sacrificial flags were concentrated in the hands of 3 people. There are only 1 or 2 teams that still keep their own sacrificial flags, and they probably have been hiding them all this time. Zhang Zizai couldn't help but have a headache. Although the difference is only a few sacrifice flags, it is obvious that I am at the worst disadvantage. If I want to get Tai Chi, I must compete with one of these 2 teams. Otherwise, the winner will be Yang'el. Of course, Nangong Shuiying is probably looking for him too. They probably don't know that there is a 3rd team with so many sacrificial flags. It's also possible to know. After all, they can ask other teams, such as Wan Shatham. We are relatively hidden, so the possibility of them encountering Wansha is less. If Yang'el knew that we also had 30 sacrificial flags, he would probably hide them. Because as long as he is not found, he will be number 1. I hope he doesn't know. Otherwise it will be really hard to find him if he hides. Also, we must prevent the mantis from catching the cicada and the oriole behind. After all, there are 3 people left in the end. If they were robbed after fighting for a long time, it would be a trap. No matter what, we must find them first, Zhang Zizai finally decided. Find them, then follow them and see what happens in the last 5 days. At night, for some reason, Zhang Zizai felt muscle soreness again and felt weak all over. Although it was only for a while, he was still very active after that, but he obviously felt something was wrong. Will this carries him have any special influence on me? That feeling of weakness and emptiness is like being sick, it's so uncomfortable. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 108. With 5 days left, Yang'el or Nangong Shuiying must be found first. Zhang Ziyu could no longer see the shadow of the god sacrifice flag on the other sacrificial disciples. In the remaining 5 days, no matter what, we have to grab the sacrificial flag from these two teams. Moreover, in order to prevent accidents, a lot of things need to be grabbed. The more secure the better, who knows what accidents will happen in the end. With 3 days left, Zhang Zizai met the Yang'el team. It's not that they didn't hide, but there were too many priests lurking around them and following them. A group of people were chasing them with great momentum. Yang'el and the others were very fast. If they wanted to get away, it was almost impossible to completely get rid of everyone. No one dares to take action for the time being. Even if we take advantage of the chaos to grab the god sacrifice flag, we won't be able to survive for 3 days, so we are all waiting for the final moment of chaos. This is a special situation where the god servant arranges this rule. The later it gets, the more confusing it becomes. Now the flag of sacrifice is on the 3 of them, but every team present has the possibility of becoming a Tai Chi owner in the end. Accordingly, this has become a huge test for Yang'el and Nangong Shuiying, how to possess more sacrificial flags in the chaos. That young man Yang'el had nowhere to hide. Occasionally he could hide, but then someone would bump into him again, and then someone would hang behind them. Zhang Zizai counted and found that they indeed had 36 god sacrifice flags on them. He looked at the fervent-eyed priests around him, all waiting to pick up the missing items, and he knew in his heart that in the remaining 3 days, the situation would be quite chaotic. Zhang Zizai is hiding in the dark, and he is also waiting for the opportunity of chaos. The snipe and the clam fight, and the fisherman wins. Who is the snipe and the clam, and who is the fisherman? The mantis stalks the cicada, and the oriole follows behind. Who is the mantis and who is the oriole? Everyone wants to be a fisherman and an oriole, so in addition to strength, they may also have to fight for wits and courage. Perhaps what the divine attendant wants to see most is the person who finally becomes the champion in this chaos. Many priests and Yuanqing are gathered around, Wan Qian said. The atmosphere is getting more and more tense. Now, Yang'el has become the center of the whirlpool. If the final result does not change, he will obviously be the champion. In fact, what Zhang Zizai didn't know was that Nangong Shuiying and the others couldn't hide, and there were many people following them, waiting for the final chaos. On the last day, the two teams, who were being followed by a group of priests, met. Yang'el took a look and saw that there were 33 sacrificial flags on Nangong Shuiying's body. He breathed a sigh of relief. Adding the two together, there were only 30 sacrificial flags left. This meant that if they remained as they were, he would be owned by Tai Chi Hu. The talented young man from the Shenbing clan and the cold and bright girl from the Tianpeng clan met in this jungle. Yang'el was born tall and tall, with a military look. He wore a black armor and had sharp eyes. To be honest, many people are looking forward to them meeting, and it would be better if they fight. Nangong Shuiying looked at the god sacrifice flag opposite, smiled slightly and said, "Yang'el, it seems I want to congratulate you in advance." "No need, you and I both know that the last day will be difficult. Look at the people around you, they all want to take advantage of the chaos." Nangong Shuiying frowned slightly, glanced at the surrounding jungle, and said, "Yes, it is really annoying. I have been following him for several days and nights, and I can't get rid of him no matter how hard I get rid of him. There must be at least 20 people around now, and maybe there will be more in the future." Yang'el's face was stern. "Yes, if you had known that I only had 33 sacrificial flags, would you have regretted meeting me here?" Nangong Shuiying chuckled. That's not true. In fact, I know you are 33, but the difference is only 3. If I hide it, I will give up the first place. What he meant was that in the last few days, Nangong Xueying could easily obtain 3 sacrificial flags. Zhang Zizai was closer now, and he could tell that neither of them probably knew that the remaining 30 sacrificial flags were all on his body, so they were still struggling to find the remaining sacrificial flags at the last moment. Flag. This is strange. I haven't entered the account for several days. It seems that Wan Sha or Shen Qingyu may have obtained the remaining sacrificial flags and hid them, Yang Il said firmly. Nangong Xueying asked, I don't know, what do you want to do next? Yang Il's eyes were deep and he said, the divine attendant needs someone to turn the tide. Time is running out. It's very difficult to find Shen Qingyu and Wan Sha. I can't even watch you find them. The only way to consolidate my number 1 position is to get if you take this 33 sacrifice flag, I will be safe. He does have a domineering temperament and is very direct. Nangong Xueying covered her mouth and smiled. Next to him, Yu Chaiwei said, Yang Il, take a good look around. There are so many people watching. If we fight, we will both lose. When the time comes, if some incompetent people take Tai Chi away, even the god attendant will be disappointed. Yang Il is naturally considering this issue as well. He respects his opponents and wants to fight in an upright manner and win an absolute victory. This is his pursuit. There was only a gap of 3 sacrificial flags, so he didn't dare to risk hiding. If he missed Tai Chi because of that, he would even be laughed at for being as timid as a mouse. His current target is indeed the sacrificial flag on Nangong Xueying's body. How about this? I also respect you as my opponent. In the Battle of Kiri's Hima, we are evenly matched and should cherish each other. There will definitely be a duel between you and me, but before that, we must clear the environment. Let's practice first and drive away these people. If they are really disobedient, let them lie down for the next day. How about that? Yang Il was quite confident. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. There are quite a few people here, Nangong Xueying said. Our 2 teams are all in the Xuanmei realm. Why are we afraid of them? Yang Il said. In that case, I'll listen to you. They both intended to have a final duel here, but they were worried that someone would take advantage of them, so they naturally joined forces. The priests watching around were nervously waiting for the duel between the 2 sides. Unexpectedly, when they were talking, suddenly, 10 people dispersed and came towards them. Clear the battlefield. Go. Yang Il, who was at the 3rd level of Xuanmei realm, was targeting them directly. They were so close that they couldn't escape. Papa. They were hit one by one and could only fall to the ground and wail. Even if they were Xuanmei realm spectators, they would not be able to escape the fate if they were caught. If they wanted to be the fishermen, they had to have the strength of the fishermen. Seeing their actions, the priests, Yuan Qing, and even the Xinjiao god servant were particularly satisfied. These 2 little guys are quite smart and not too blind. They know that they need to clear the battlefield and don't let others take advantage, the god servant praised. Feng Qingxuan's face was bright and she smiled. When the 2 teams met, the priests had basically arrived. Zhang Zizai is leaving. The 2 men cleared the battlefield, and Zhang Zizai returned to Wanqian's side first. Anyway, Wanqian could see clearly from a distance, so there was no need for him to get too close to be discovered. With the joint efforts of their 2 teams, most of the worshippers fled, and a few fell to the ground wailing, and could no longer be followed. Their 2 teams finally had no worries. And ran, your worshippers were discovered, Feng Qingxian smiled. He was also a little worried about Wan Sha and the others. As a result, Wan Sha, who was hiding around, had been surrounded by Yang Il and Nangong Xueying. The sacrificial flag cannot leave the body. Did you hide it? Yang Il asked. What he wanted to catch was actually Wan Sha, who was a threat to him. Wan Sha waved his hand and said, "It was robbed. Since you found it, I will tell you who has the other 30 sacrificial flags." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 109. Wan Sha's words made the two of them quiet down instantly. What do you mean by this? The remaining sacrificial flags are all in the hands of one person. This means that there is a third competitor between them. Shen Qingyu, Nangang Xuanhuan asked. That's wrong, it's Zhang Zizai. He is a cunning and insidious person. He designed to steal the sacrificial flags of Shen Qingyu, and now, he has 30 sacrificial flags in his hand. Yang'el and Nangang Shuiying did not expect it at all. Is it the son of King Zilan, the one followed by Princess Shenxiao? Yang'el was slightly speechless. Nangang Shuiying looked at Wan Sha and said, "You must be fooling us, right?" Wan Sha smiled coldly and said, "The 5 of us are here, and we don't have any sacrificial flags. It's up to you whether you believe what I said. I only know that Zhang Zizai has Wan Qian from my clan in his team. The totem's characteristic is an arc-sight, so you can't see them, but they have probably been watching you for days and nights. You can fight to the death now. When the time comes, hey, think about it yourself." After saying that, he greeted the rest of the team and walked away. Both Yang'el and Nangang Shuiying could see that they still had some injuries on their bodies. Thousands. The two of them remembered this character a little bit. I have indeed heard that the eyes are particularly powerful. Fortunately, the ears are not powerful, otherwise I would probably be able to hear what they say. Wan Sha told us this information about Zhang Zizai. What do you think is the purpose? Yang'el asked. He was defeated by Zhang Zizai and holds a grudge. Compared to the two of us, he doesn't want Zhang Zizai to take advantage in the end. Nangang Shuiying pondered for a while. In other words, we have driven away all the people around us, but we can't get rid of Zhang Zizai. Yang'el scanned the surroundings and knew that if it was true as Wan Sha said, Zhang Zizai must be around. He is currently the first in the sacrifice flag, but he still can't leave. If he leaves, Zhang Zizai will watch the time pass. At the last moment, he will definitely fight with Nangang Shuiying. If either of them wins, they can take away his Tai Chi. The three parties were now constrained in a wonderful balance. This Zhang Zizai seems to be still in the martial life realm. He can break through to the profound vein realm at most. In a fight, he can kill 10,000 people at most. But he has thousands of helpers like this, which means he is in the dark and we are in the open. If he forces us out, we will be in danger. Yu Chaiwei thought of the young man he met that day. Then it's only fair to force him out. As long as he appears, there will be no threat, Nangang Shuiying said. Nangang Shuiying and Yu Chaiwei discussed in private. When Zhang Zizai comes out, you should be extra careful with Yang'el. Once he steals Zhang Zizai's sacrificial flag, he will definitely escape if he is over 50. Nangang Shuiying knew very well that whoever reaches 50 first will be safe. Zhang Zizai is like a restraining and balancing force for both of them. However, we must lure Zhang Zizai out, because it is much easier to take the sacrificial flag from him than from Yang'el, Yu Chaiwei said firmly. What is the strength of Zhang Zizai's team? Except for himself, who is said to have defeated the first level of the mysterious vein realm, there is only one person who is at the first level of the mystic vein realm. The others are useless and have no fighting power. It is said that there is also a little girl who is at the 6th level of the martial Ming realm. Yu Chaiwei was in charge. Gather information. How can you be so weak and take away Wan Sha and Shen Qingyu's sacrificial flag? Nangang Shuiying couldn't believe it. Yu Chaiwei said, as far as I know, Zhang Zizai is extremely insidious and cunning. He may have set up a trap. After all, on this foggy island, it is not a complete test of strength. Nangong Shuiying nodded and said, then as long as we lure this Zhang Zizai out, he will not be any threat. I believe Yong'el also longs for the sacrificial flag on his body, but if he does not attract Zhang Zizai out, as soon as the time comes, Yong'el will be number one and we have to take risks. When the time comes, your totem characteristics have certain advantages. You can control Zhang Zizai instantly and take away the god sacrifice flag. You can leave alone and the four of us will stop Yong'el for you. There are 3 young men beside Yu Chaiwei, all of whom are exceptionally handsome. Nangong Shuiying is surrounded by handsome and unrestrained people who all admire her and are of noble birth. Nangong Shuiying nodded, and the plan was decided. How strong is Zhang Zizai in the mysterious vein realm? She finally understood one more point. Because she wanted to control Zhang Zizai instantly, and also wanted to watch the person next to him. Yu Chaiwei was stunned, but he didn't expect that Nangong Shuiying was so immersed in cultivation that she completely forgot about him. Baishan Jin Yu Chaiwei raised a smile on his lips. Nangong Shuiying's face instantly turned cold. It's really haunting, she said expressionlessly. Don't worry, you have met a lot of toads over the years. Who makes you so noble, talented, and so beautiful? Those little sparrows all want to climb high branches and become the phoenix of your Tianpeng tribe. Yu Chaiwei smiled. The other 3 teenagers couldn't help but laugh. Thinking of the young man's ignorance that day, they all found it ridiculous. How could there be such a whimsical person? Nangong Shuiying said, stop talking about this person. Let's discuss it with Yong'el. They quickly completed their internal negotiations. At this time, Nangong Shuiying had just forced back several teams that wanted to pick up the missing people. He and Yong'el moved while fighting, gradually cleaning up the surrounding area. Yong'el, I have a way to force Zhang Zizai out. Nangong Shuiying only spoke when she was very close, and her voice was not loud. After all, she was worried about letting Zhang Zizai see her. Say it. Yong'el came over with 4 teenagers, full of evil spirits. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Let's pretend to fight, act out a scene, and then pretend to be injured. Then Zhang Zizai will definitely come out to reap the benefits. When the time comes, we will siege him. How many sacrificial flags we can grab from him will depend on our abilities. Nangong Shuiying said. Yong'el thought for a while, and with their current level, it was still very easy to put on a lifelike play. Of course, they would also be extra careful about Nangong Shuiying's pretending to be real. Yong'el did not want Zhang Zizai to hide all the time. He only had the advantage of 3 sacrificial flags, which was too little. Next to Yong'el, there was another person who was at the 2nd level of the mysterious Meridian realm, named Zhang Zhengde. He was the owner of the Moonlight Sword Totem and a descendant of the Shenbing clan. He stood next to Yong'el and said, actually, we can delay the time a little further and keep entangled. Before we know it, the end will be reached. Yong'el shook his head and said, it's not my style to be timid. Our Shenbing clan is not afraid of fighting. Fighting alone, I am sure to take down Nangong Shuiying. Zhang Jingde could only say, in that case, just follow what she said. Now that the battle has been cleared, according to their agreement, it is time for the final battle. They spoke in such low tones that the priests in the distance didn't hear them, and they didn't know what specific arrangements they were going to make. Yong'el's priest is an alternative among priests, nicknamed Sword Demon and named Jian Nankaiu. He is a middle-aged man with a strong personality and his own way of doing things. He holds a sword in his arms, has messy hair, wears a grey sword robe, and has a sloppy beard. Jian Nankaiu, Yong'el has really learned a lot under your tutelage. Looking at it today, Shuiying should be no match for her. Feng Qingxian leaned against the tree trunk, the breeze caressing her long hair. Jian Nankaiu glanced at her and said, don't be humble, we are evenly matched. Yang is too pure in mind and only believes in strength. He will inevitably suffer in front of your disciples. Feng Qingxian chuckled and said, you said Xueying is resourceful. To put it bluntly, he is insidious and cunning. Jian Nankai curled his lips. Feng Qingxian frowned slightly. She suddenly remembered something and said with a smile, don't say that. These sacrificial flags in Xueying's hands were all obtained with honest skills. Those who are truly insidious and cunning are also hiding nearby, ready to reap the benefits. As priests, of course they knew that Zhang Zizai was still within a certain range and in control of the battle situation. Now that many people had been forced away, there were only 3 of them left, 2 in the open and 1 in the dark. Who are you talking about? Sarcastically. Showing off, the 9 immortals were not far away, so of course they could hear them. Shut up, Xinyao. Divine Attendant glared at the 9 immortals. Juxian rolled her eyes. She sat on a branch and looked at Zhang Zizai and the others. Yang Le and Xueying have been talking a little too much. They just encountered Wan Shat. Are they thinking of some way to deal with Zhang Zizai? She had guessed it, but she couldn't tell Zhang Zizai at this time, otherwise it would be against the rules. So, I could only watch anxiously. Little guy, you must be smart. Now, almost all the priests and Yuan Qing are gathered here. The 9 immortals glanced back. Princess Shenxiao and Qin Qin were still there, and the 9 immortals were still following them. Princess Shenxiao looked enthusiastic as she listened to Qin Qin tell her about the current situation. Zhu Xian glanced at the towering peaks of Qin Qin, then looked at himself, and couldn't help but cursed, what a pervert, eating papaya every day. In fact, her focus was still on Princess Shenxiao. This little girl, according to rumors, is not so pure. Could her childhood sweetheart actually have such power? Just when she thought this, the teams of Nangong Xueying and Yang started fighting on the other side. 5 versus 5, each player has an opponent. The most important battlefield is the duel between Yang and Nangong Xueying. The priests were immediately attracted. The Battle of Kiri's Hima has reached its final moment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Feng Qingyang. Chapter 110. Boss, they have already started fighting. After clearing the battlefield, Wan Qian stood on a high place, his eyes emitting bright light. He was watching a battle in the distance. How is the situation? Zhang Zizai asked. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. Equally matched, Wan Qian said after watching for a while. They fought fiercely, probably because they saw that time was running out, and they all wanted to get the other side's sacrificial flag. As long as they exceeded 50, it would be safe. Wait a little longer. Zhang Zizai was waiting for the time to enter the field. He looked at Baishanjin with a complicated look, standing in the corner, with his head down, a little melancholy. Zhang Zizai put his arm around his shoulder and said, brother, are you still confused? Baishanjin smiled with difficulty and said, yes, after all, we have been secretly in love for such a long time, how can we just break up? Although I have completely let go, I am still a little nervous now that we are going to meet. Am I a coward? A little, haha. The first love in youth is so beautiful, but unfortunately, it is also so cruel most of the time. In fact, I know that what I like is just the one I imagined. I feel that I match her so well in terms of totem and personality. However, imagination and reality seem to never be mixed up. This noisy boy was actually depressed. Zhang Zizai patted his back and said, wait a minute, you come with me. Lu Dingxing asked, boss, what about us? There is a more important task. Zhang Zizai took off the sacrificial flag package on his body, put it on Lu Dingxing's body, and tied it up. He changed Lu Dingxing's package, put a lot of branches in it, and hung them on his body to make it look real. Boss, what does this mean? Zhang Zizai smiled and said, all is fair in war. In the remaining day, you, Wanqian and Xiaoyu, take our 30 sacrificial flags and hide as far as you can. With Wanqian here, no one can find you. Your task is to protect these sacrificial flags. Zhang Zizai trusts Wanqian very much. With him, no one can get close to them. Basically, he has already discovered them before they get close. What about you? Wanqian asked. Zhang Zizai said, I'm here to fight with them. It's more convenient for me and Shan Niao to fight with them. Once we grab more than 20 sacrificial flags, we don't even need so many. Taiji is safe. As long as you can protect these 30 sacrificial flags, our sacrificial flags will only be more, not less. In fact, it is because of Wanqian's existence that Zhang Zizai can do this. Other teams didn't dare to separate. For example, if there were only Lu Dingxing and Ruo Xiaoyu, it would be easy to run into other teams and lose the sacrificial flag. Wanqian asked, are you sure? Their sacrificial flags are not easy to snatch. Zhang Zizai smiled and said, it's not necessary to fight hard, but you still need to rely on your brain. They have already started fighting, you can go first. Boss, are you sure I follow you? Bai Shenjin asked hesitantly. Yes, I need you. Bai Shenjin was stunned, and then his expression was exaggerated, saying, don't do it, I have no interest in men at all. Of course, I am handsome, and it is not your fault to fall in love with me, but my fault. Go to hell, everyone laughed together. Let's go. Wanqian nodded and said, Boss, leave it to me, you can rest assured, these 30 sacrificial flags will not be lost. Then, he and Lu Dingxing left here, while Zhang Zizai and Bai Shenjing quietly approached the battlefield. Too cunning, Feng Qingxian was furious, she didn't expect Zhang Zizai to suddenly make such an arrangement. Unfortunately, she couldn't tell her disciples that Zhang Zizai didn't have a sacrificial flag at all. Haha, this is wisdom. Juxian was still worried, but he saw that this guy was really too cunning, and he wanted to get something for nothing. The situation is getting more and more interesting. I don't believe it. What can these tricks do? Feng Qingxian still looked down on him. Jian Nankai also glanced at Juxian, and he didn't like Juxian. It's not time to announce the results yet, so there's no need to be happy too early, he said coldly. Zhang Zizai didn't know there were so many changes. He had heard the sound of the battlefield, gradually approached, hid around, and pulled apart the dense leaves. Finally, he saw that the two sides in front were fighting extremely fiercely. Yang'el, Nangong Shuiying, Yuqi Wei, Zhang Zhengde. Killing Halberd Totem. Blizzard Kunpeng Totem. Golden Holy Lion Totem. Moonlight Knife Totem. These are all top-level Earth-level totems, among which Yuqi Wei and Zhang Zhengde are no worse than Wanxia. The other 6 were also in the Xuanmei realm. Their fight made Bai Shenjin's scalp numb. He shivered and said, Boss, are you sure that the 2 of us can grab the sacrificial flag from these 10 people? It was obvious that the sacrificial flags were on Yang'el and Nangong Shuiying. Finally saw her. Seeing how terrifying she was on the battlefield, Bai Shenjin shook his head and said, it seems that I really don't deserve her. That's not necessarily true. Maybe in 2 years, she won't deserve you. Will there be such a day? Follow me, no problem, Zhang Zizai boasted. He didn't even know where the future was. In fact, when they arrived, the battle had already reached a very intense level, and it looked very lively. Zhang Zizai looked at their status and knew that it was almost over. Among them, Yang'el and Nangong Shuiying consumed a lot of energy. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Not long after, they were completely in a melee. Even Yang'el and his friends did not expect that they would get angry during the fight. Many times, it was a real collision. In fact, it was also a way of testing. It seems that someone is approaching, just around, it's almost over, Yang was always paying attention to his surroundings. I pretend to be defeated, and you pretend to win with difficulty. No problem. The two continued to act. After a confrontation, Nangong Shuiying fell to the ground, and Yang was barely alive, but also very excited. Tai Chi, it's mine, he rushed up, his steps trembling, and wanted to take Tai Chi away. As for Nangong Shuiying's teammates, they were all stopped and could not support for the time being. The opportunity has come, go. Zhang Zizai patted Baishanjin's shoulder, and the two broke through the leaves and rushed to the battlefield, aiming directly at Yang and Nangong Shuiying. They made a little noise. In the blink of an eye, Zhang Zizai turned into a black shadow and quickly approached Yang and Nangong Shuiying. Suddenly, Yang raised his head slightly and saw him. At this moment, Zhang Zizai saw Yang's eyes. Although he was still pretending, Zhang Zizai still saw it in this moment. He was not surprised or panicked. Damn, it's a trick, retreat quickly. Zhang Zizai's reaction was quite fast. He didn't expect that these two big guys would actually act to lure him out. As soon as they appeared on the battlefield, he turned around and pulled Baishanjin back. What? Baishanjin was still stunned for a moment, and Zhang Zizai put an acceleration talisman on his feet. Then, he saw Nangong Shuiying suddenly jumped up, and together with Yang and 10 other people, they locked their targets on the two of them and chased them frantically. What's going on? Baishanjin's mind went blank for a moment, and he finally figured it out. They were acting to make him appear. The key was that the acting was too realistic. Not to mention Wanqian, he couldn't tell after they got close. Mainly because he didn't think about it in this way. Too cunning, he could only be depressed. He was only the first level of the Xuanmei realm, and now there was a large group of people following him. Fortunately, I'm fast, Baishanjin showed the power of the totem, spread his wings, and flew swiftly. While flying, he set fire to the trees behind him. In terms of speed, he was about the same as the second level of the Xuanmei realm, and with Zhang Zizai's acceleration talisman, it seemed that there was no problem with escaping, and he breathed a sigh of relief. Looking back, Yang was following him like a madman, and there was a woman behind him with a pair of wings of ice and snow on her back. When she flew past, the flames of Baishanjin were directly frozen. She was flying in the jungle, and there was ice and snow everywhere. He saw her cold eyes. She was not the same person as that time when she faced death in the cave. She needed me so much in those days. But today, I can only see that she hated me so much. Why did the woman change her face so quickly? He couldn't figure it out at all. Don't be distracted, go, he slowed down, and Zhang Zizai directly grabbed his collar. A group of people behind were still chasing him frantically. They looked at Zhang Zizai's backpack with fiery eyes. The bulging feeling was clearly the flag of offering sacrifices to the gods. There must be more than 30. Yang and Nangong Shuiying knew that it was too difficult to compete for each other's flag of offering sacrifices to the gods, so they could only pin their hopes on Zhang Zizai. Or, Yang could choose to continue to consume. So, they were chasing madly, followed by the priest and Yuanqing's team, running around on this foggy island. This Zhang Zizai is really good at running. This kind of escape forced the team behind to be directly separated. Among them, Yang and Nangong Shuiying were in the front, Zhang Jingde and Yuji Wei could barely follow, and the remaining 6 Xuanmei realm first level, chasing and chasing, directly lost them. They stayed in the same place depressed, not knowing where to go. It lasted for half an hour. Zhang Zizai looked back and saw that there were only 4 people. He suddenly held Baishanjin and stayed in place. Don't chase, I can't run anymore, he. Zhang Zizai opened the package, and the branches inside fell to the ground with a clatter. I don't have a sacrificial flag, haha, he laughed. Nangong Shuiying and Yang's faces turned green. After chasing for a long time, he didn't have a sacrificial flag. "Where is your sacrificial flag?" Yang Il asked with gritted teeth. "It's with my teammates, but you'll never find him in this life." Wanqian, they all knew that it was impossible to find Wanqian's sacrificial flag. The two of them wanted to cry but had no tears. Yang Il thought for a while and said, "No matter what, let Zhang Zizai lie down first." In this way, he would have one less opponent. Next, as long as he didn't lose to Nangang Shuiying, it would be fine. Because as long as Zhang Zizai lay down, Zhang Zizai's team would lose its combat effectiveness, and Wanqian would not give the 30 sacrificial flags to Nangang Shuiying, and Yang Il's first place would be preserved. After all, he is now in an advantageous position. In fact, he can hide. His only worry is that Zhang Zizai and Nangang Shuiying will fight hard, lose the sacrificial flag, and create Nangang Shuiying. Now, if Zhang Zizai is dealt with, Zhang Zizai's team will have no hope of being the first, so he should not come to die.